live. So I'm Jill Wolcott, and I am going to give you a studio tour, mostly because I finally put all the crap away in my office. All is an exaggeration, but close. So first of all, I always wonder whether to call it an office or a studio because it actually functions as both. And then we were recently watching an Italian show, and I don't know what happened with this lipstick. It wasn't the tube I thought it was. And I realized that they call an office a studio. So now I'm just calling my office my studio, which is really what I think of it is, even though I spend most of my time sitting at a computer. So I am standing at my door, except the door is closed, and I am going to switch the camera so that you can see studio. So this is what it looks like when I walk in. There's a deck outside, first floor, second floor, first floor European deck out there, which I look out on, except when it's too sunny. So let's start with the back of my door. Some bags, and let's see, this one is from Beautiful Knitters in London, and this is my Ukraine that we got at a fundraiser whenever the war started. And then we have some Cricut artwork, and these are things that I drew in different classes. So, you always draw nudes. So these two I did in the 90s, and this one I did a couple of years ago. And then I walk in, and I've got all of this, which is just storage. It's bookshelves, but lots of crap and things that I like. I just sorted that bin out. So it's basically leftover yarn, so things that have been used in projects. These little red drawers have my vintage buttons and other buttons, but this is my little treasure trove of things, and quite valuable. And lots of samples of things that have never been, patterns never been written. Lots of fashion books because I love fashion. And then these are actually lids to plastic boxes, and I like them for throwing things in because I've been sorting. I've got some stray bookmarks, but not quite ready to throw those out. So this is Dolly. This is Dolly 2, actually, and you can see that she has arms, although her shoulders are quite broad when those are on. And then I've got Scully, my skeleton, who's actually male, but you take what you can get. And my whiteboard with paper stitches on it. And that Jill up there is actually from when I did my second year project at Seattle Central Technical College in apparel design, or apparel garment construction and pattern making. So that was like 83. Here's another drawing I did for a marker illustration class. Of course, I barely draw by hand anymore, but again in the early 90s. That is a Laurie Marchand note card. I buy her note cards because I love to use them in photos and to be there. I've always got needles laying around. This is projects, another bookend, projects that I need to do videos of, and so they're all just laid out. This used to hold my oldest computer, my laptop, but Mitch very generously told me to buy a cute little filing cabinet instead, and so as soon as he feels strong enough to lift it down the stairs, that will be going out. Currently he's just using it to sit on when he comes in to talk to me, and that I'll put some notebooks in that, and it'll go in my shelves, which we'll get to shortly. Okay, so let's get down here. And so those cards on the top, those are where I do wraps per inch for different yards. You can see I label them, put the wraps per inch and the type of twist the yarn has. So I have records for all of the yarns I've used. Yeah, it's scary. And then these are swatches of things that either I have recently done or are coming up in the queue to get done. So these are swatches. This one is quite big because I was testing out a sleeve and I wanted it to have a certain shape, so I had to do it big enough that I could test that. And my felt knitting bag, which when I'm not traveling, it just holds stuff. And theoretically, I can throw what I need in there when I need to take stuff someplace. It's felt and it's got kind of an embossed surface. It's very cool. Oh, this is cool. It's called a rabbit punch, and it is used to put punch holes in patterns that are made out of either butcher paper or pattern tag. So that's left over from my days of pattern making, and it currently gets used as a doorstop. And this is my door to the deck, which currently has a paper shade on it because it gets super hot in here otherwise with the sun beating in. There's my yoga mat, which I use in Pilates, and behind that is a circle light, which quite frankly I don't think is very effective. And then some flat patterns. So this is so you punch these holes and then you have these pattern hooks and you hang stuff. So I still use them, but not for flat pattern very often. So those are the 3 patterns that I'm currently getting ready for the Pattern Tailor launch. And some of them have many versions, and I'm like not quite ready to throw all the paper away. And below that, or in front of that, these are samples that need to be sorted out. This is a really nice cozy. I knitted before we went to Australia. I'm going to put this down here so I can hold up cozy somehow. Let's see if we can. Okay, so this is slip stitches. If you know me, you know I can't stand doing color work because I can't manage balls of yarn at all. And this is Dottie from Anzula. I have just lots of it because I used it in a project that had lots of colors in it. So did this to test out what it would look like if I did shirt rows in pattern. So you can see that in the front, that's only like 12 rows, and here it's like 16 or 18. So I just kind of did this on the fly. There is no pattern. I have no idea what my intention was beyond exploring. And then these are mostly samples that need to be completely sorted. Those are some swatches that I took down for probably like 2 months ago, and they're still sitting there. This is a baby gift that I have to finish, but I have to admit have little or no enthusiasm for anymore. And there's my props for Pilates, and I bought myself this nice felt bucket after basket that I was using disintegrated. And this is my standing desk. Here's a piece that I got put aside, and now I added this piece onto the bottom. I had to there's 2 pieces that get added on, and I had to make sure that they fit. So I had put it onto waste yarn and checked the length after everything was blocked, and then ripped out a few rows and put that on. This is a labeling project. I have all these notebooks, which I'll show you shortly, and so I'm labeling those. And this is a project which I can't show you right now. Who knows when I did this? I know what pattern it's from, but Formo fingering, which I love. I always have something that I'm doing gauge on, so that this, where I record the gauge, goes with this, and it's laying here because I need to write the blocked gauge down. So that's kind of what I usually do over here. And then because I have the window, I often do photographs and videos. This is just so that yarn is just what I use with my dress form and marking things. So just pull things out of there. Business cards, favorite pencils, other little treasures that I might need to put my hands on. And then this is the rag I've been using to clean up. We'll just move that. So knitting needles, other things, some things from a calendar I pulled out. Those are the chapters for the book I'm writing. That is yarn that I sorted. I think it's almost all Anzula yarn. And I'm waiting for some containers to contain it. And I always have piles of patterns. I use leftover socks. These footies are excellent for putting a ball of yarn in. If I've got a hole in the toe, I pull the yarn out through the hole. I always have pencils and pens laying around. Here's a little research that I'm working on for one of our darts for the pattern tailor, and I often just need to do something on paper so I can see what I'm doing. Those are paper clips that my husband uses. I can't stand them, so I always have to make sure they go back to him. I always have little piles of things I should put away, but I'm not quite ready to put away. Knitting tools. That back there is samples of yarn I've gotten. I have all these cards and things hanging up, because I'm not very sentimental, but I like to remember things that people have sent me. That was given to me by the graphic designer who did my logo, and I love it, so I keep it. It's framed, I hang it there, and that's a card from my friend Sarah. So when we were making this bedroom into my studio, did most of it, and he put these cool bookshelves up. So I have books up there. Those are all either fashion or body issues. There's then a pile of drawing books, some stuff about marketing, which I loathe to read about, so I'm not sure I've ever even cracked them. Oh, and the apples are from when I taught at FITM, and I would usually win favorite teacher for my department. So then these are things, kind of both sorted and unsorted. Those are on my list to sort out. Here are bunches of swatches, and again, they need sorting, but it can be, they've actually been sorted, they just need to be made to look pretty, and I'm going to put more filing thingies up there. And here's something from my favorite jazz musician, Bill Frisell, actually two things from him, and then a little fortune cookie that says, "You are sensitive and look deeply into yourself and others." So this is the second set of bookshelves. So this particular span of materials is almost all of the weekly notes from Jamie and my chats. So the first year that she worked with me as an intern, we met and talked for probably 4 to 6 hours a week. And she would take notes. She would come with questions that she'd already written out and then take notes. And because I like to see things on paper, I've been printing them out. I've got a bunch that I still need to print. And then over here, these notebooks are mostly related to classes and workshops, and you can see that I need to put up the thing to hold them. These notebooks are a little flimsy in terms of they don't stand up on their own, and so that's a work in progress. And I used to keep a calendar up here, but I don't anymore because I've given up that I'm ever going to pay proper attention to it. And these are things that I like to see from my desk. So let's see. This I'm going to put the camera down again. So I have to, when I do things online, I have to put in, the right colors to match my logo. So I have that, which I can see from my computer, along with a little Picasso that my mom gave to me probably maybe in the 80s. So I don't like Picasso and I don't like blue, but that's from his blue period. But I kept it because I did usually love my mother. And then this is my desk. You can see another pile of fashion books and then just things that I use here. And this is my I'm working on it pile. And I got two newsletters done today, so I got nothing else really done. And here's my someday I'll look at those pile. And again, a few more treasures. I love geology, so Mitch gave me these rocks for a gift-giving occasion. And that cloisonne piece, as I said, I'm not very sentimental, but I keep a few things. And so this, I remember growing up, was always in my parents' living room. And there was an ashtray and matchbox container. Yes, I am that old. So here's the matchbox container, and lined it with paper, and I keep these pins in it. And then, so I keep that close by where I teach and work with my swatches. And I thought maybe I had the cloisonne, but I don't. There was a dish, and as I recall, it got badly dented. So, and this is the original dolly. You can see I got her arms, but they came from a different colored dress form. So, and this is a cute little top, but when I put a dress form already has built-out shoulders, and so when you put the arms on, they really get basketball player or athletic shoulders, and that's where I keep some of my knitting needles, basically the ones I don't use. That's a nude, not done by me, but done by a real artist, and I bought it from her in Italy. And here's a painting that I did in her watercolor class, and I love it. I think it's fabulous. Doesn't necessarily look exactly like the photograph that I was using, but I liked how it worked. So this often happens. My dress form is wearing more than one thing. So this, I was doing a drawing of it, so I had to put it up on the dress form. And this is a piece that's in process, and I was trying to decide how I was going to put the buttons on it. So, and I'm not very good at joining things in the round, so I often knit a couple of rows before I do that. But let me turn her. She doesn't have a name, and I actually didn't name Dolly. Somebody else did. So, yeah, that's not something I do. It's a good thing I never had children. They wouldn't have had names. But look at this. I did short rows, and so, of course, your front neck is lower, so this is a little longer, and then it has this lovely curve up, and it curves down around to the back, and you can see where there were short rows, so something's going to cover that. This is an underlayer, but it has just this beautiful swoop I love. And then I have my size 4 child dress form who's wearing a couple of things again. So this sweater is what is called a toile. So it's just a sample, and this was in a finishing class I did. And so we have kind of I-cord things and on one side and lacy things on another, and applique on the back. I'm not going to try and move it. Everything's a little tight in here. And then we have the wall of yarn. So the top shelf has books, which are mostly fashion, pattern making, and then a couple of other books. And this is yarn for workshops that I'm working on and other things. And then I believe this is like DK Sport yarn here. Here's a copy of the book that I wrote, and I'm trying to decide whether I should resurrect that. And then these are other yarns. You can tell what my favorite colors are, and lots of books and notebooks, a lot of pattern making, knitting over there, paper cutter in the corner, and then I've got fingering weight yarns. Anything that's in a bag is an unfinished project, and so lots of fingering weight. I love fingering weight. And then here is, the shelf of shame, the things that aren't finished. And down here are drawing books, mostly fashion drawing. I'm not a serious artist. And those are notebooks holding swatch information, the swatch ledgers. And then Jamie and I worked for about a year on stuff on yoke sweaters, and someday I'm going to pull that out and do something with it. More swatches, a couple of full-size arms, even more swatches, and this is the ring that I need to put things back onto. And here's a couple of things that I've been working on, waiting for me to have time artwork that I saved from calendars. Those are Mark Rothko's. One of my favorite little things for people who think that creative output is easy. So that area where my yarn was actually a closet, and Mitch had the closet taken out and shelves put in. And then I have these shelves inside this cabinet. So this shelf is like my most easily accessed things. Up there, kind of things I don't need to access very often. And down here is kind of all the crap I don't know what to do with, large size drawing things, samples. This is one of my favorite boxes. It's called Someday. It's things that I've saved, usually pieces of clothing that I think I want to do something with. My half-size samples. Not sure what that box is. It looks like it might be class samples. That's my knitting book if I ever decide to do anything with it. And then, I've just got paper and stuff. So that's my studio. And kind of whizzed by my computer. This is where I usually sit. And, I've got like the stuff that I need close at hand, including a microphone, all the things that I feel like I need to function. And this is where I spend all of my time, except in the evening and the morning before I come to work. So, and I've got these boxes here. So these it says Swatch Books, Swatch Workshop, and What Knits and Pearls Can Do. So the bottom one was a class I did for Craftsy. They gave it the worst possible name, and they ended up giving me the rights to it back. Swatch Workshop is something I used to do and should be doing. And the swatch books are like stitch patterns that I've done that aren't associated with any specific project. And then on the corner of Shame under my desk, so things that I can use to pad out my dress form. Yeah, mostly things like that. My filing bag, but I actually put some of my current filing in my file cabinet. And then art supplies, garbage can, and a stand for putting up my laptop if I want to do that. So that's that. So this is where I usually am, sitting in my chair. Mostly people see behind me. I've got the fan going because it's warm, and it's Friday. I'm doing a podcast with somebody at 6:15 tonight, so Mitch has moved the music hour forward, and I am going to say goodbye so I can try and organize this pile of paper while listening to lovely music and keeping myself alert to do this podcast. So thanks for joining me. Hope you can see how much I love my space and what I do in here. And bye-bye for now.